Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. It is 7 a.m. here, and I was actually just working on the Nax parsing video, which I know all of you guys are waiting patiently for, and I thought to myself, how dare I try to release a Nax parsing video without even telling you guys the second big secret that I've been keeping from you? And this blows the other secret way out of the water. This secret that I have for you today is basically a permanent Dark Moon Fair buff, but even better. So, without further ado, before we get into the next parsing video, let's talk about this bug that is in Classic WoW that can potentially allow Warlocks to do big, fat dick damage. Let's get into the video. Alright, so this secret has to do with our talent setup in a way that we can manipulate our talents to actually give us more benefits than what we really have. And let me explain here. So, on private servers in the past, you used to be able to do something called the DS respec buff. And what that is a warlock could spec into demonic sacrifice, as we see here. And what they would do is they would be standing in front of the warlock trainer, and they would immediately summon their succubus, sacrifice it with demonic sacrifice to get a 30-minute demonic sacrifice buff, increasing their shadow damage by 15%, and then immediately respec into SM Ruin. And what this allowed them to do was to play as SM Ruin, but also have the demonic sacrifice buff for an extra 30 minutes. So this was the ideal scenario for speedrunning back on those private servers. If you could speedrun a raid in 30 minutes or less, then you could be a super powered warlock and have SM Ruin plus DS Ruin benefits. This also was in Classic WoW in Phase 1. For the first month of Phase 1, this worked, and then Blizzard immediately patched it. And since Blizzard immediately patched it, that was the main reason why I took so long to tell you guys about this second secret. Because this second secret is also a way to abuse your talent points. And if I released this information to you guys early on, I was afraid that Blizzard also was going to patch this right away. But now that we're in Phase 6 and Vanilla is coming to an end, you know what? We're going to unleash the beast. We're going to talk about it today. And what is that secret exactly? We can no longer do this demonic sacrifice buff. That is not working. If you have a demonic sacrifice buff and you respec, you lose the demonic sacrifice buff. It's not working anymore. So what is working? Well, the thing that is working, and the second big secret that is going to be released, is we don't abuse demonic sacrifice. Instead, we go for Master Demonologist. Now, let me explain how this works. A warlock can be spec'd into Master Demonologist. You can go around the world getting all of your different buffs as Master Demonologist, getting Songflower, getting ZG buff, getting Onyxia buff, getting this, that, the other, all of those good things, and you can do this while you have the Master Demonologist buff. After you get all of your different buffs around the world, you can go back to the Warlock Trainer, and as long as you have your Succubus out with the Master Demonologist buff on you and your Succubus, you can then respec into SM Ruin, dropping Master Demonologist. However, since your pet is still out, you keep that Master Demonologist buff as long as you don't lose your pet. So what this means is, you can play as an SM Ruin Warlock. However, you're an SM Ruin Warlock that has a permanent 10% increased damage buff, as long as you can keep your pet. And not only do you have a 10% increased damage buff, but your Succubus also has a 10% damage buff. So it's like you have a Dark Moon Fair buff, and you have a pet out that can do additional DPS if it's safe to attack with your succubus, and your succubus has 10% increased damage, and your succubus is gaining damage from unholy power, and your succubus does more damage to a boss when the boss has armor penetrating debuffs like Sunder Armor, Curse of Recklessness, etc. And on top of that, we can buff our pet further by picking up world buffs such as ZG buff and, most importantly, Rallying Cry of the Dragon Slayer, giving it attack power. But not only can you pick up those world buffs on your pet, increasing its damage even further, but you can also use single target buffs on it, such as Juju Might, Juju Power, Blessing of Might, Blessing of Kings, and things of that nature. So not only are you now an SM Ruin Warlock with a 10% damage buff as if you had Darkman Fair, but you also have a pet that does quite considerable amount of damage in a raid environment. One more thing that can make this damage even better on top of the Juju Might, Juju Power, Blessing of Kings, Blessing of Might, if you got a Nixia buff on your pet, even further beyond all of those buffs, you can also pre-pop Black Book. Now, what do I mean by this? Normally, in Classic WoW, if you equip an item that gives you a buff, such as Bone Reaver's Edge or Petrified Scarab, where it'll give your character a specific buff, if you swap that item away, you will lose that buff. You will no longer have it. However, Black Book is a bit different. You can pop Black Book, the Warlock class trinket from Blackwing Lair, increasing your damage of your pet significantly, and you can swap the trinket away before entering combat with any given boss, and you'll keep the buff. Now, why is that when none of the other items work that way? Well, that's because when you pop Black Book, your character doesn't actually gain any buffs. Your pet gains buffs. So the fact that you're changing your trinkets away and dropping back Black Book doesn't actually make you lose the buff, because it is you swapping your trinkets and you are not the one with the buff. Your pet is the one with the buff. So this means that heading into Patchwork, heading into Grobulus, heading into multiple different bosses, when you know exactly when you're going to pull the boss, or if your raid leader has a countdown towards pulling the boss, you can click on your black trinket, use it, and before you enter combat, you can swap back to your Rune of the Dawn, or Mark of the Champion, or whatever other trinket you are using for that fight. So you can not only gain the benefits of your trinkets, but your pet is also hyper powerful. Now, there are some limitations if you are going to do this, though. And that is that you have to move around the world in a very careful way. If for any reason you lose your pet, you will not gain the Master Demonology buff back, and you will have to redo the whole respecking to get the buff. And by lose your pet, what I mean is, if you take a flight path to anywhere, your pet will immediately be converted back into a soul shard, thus making you lose the Master Demonology buff and having to make you reset this whole process all over again. So if you are going to do this, you cannot take a flight path. Even though you can't take a flight path, you can take things like mage portals, you can also Hearthstone, and of course, you can take summons as well. Mage portals, Hearthstones, and summons are all safe, as they don't make your pet despawn. However, one other thing that is dangerous to do is outranging your pet. In the raid environment, there are going to be some situations that are risky for your pet. AoE damage, certain mechanics on certain trash packs and or bosses that may put your pet at risk of taking damage and dying. And if your pet dies in the raid, then once again, of course, you're going to lose the Master Demonology buff. So sometimes you're going to need to keep your pet away from where you're standing so it can stand in a safe place where it's not going to die. Well, it is important that in these scenarios, where you want to keep it away from where you're standing so you can keep it alive, to not outrange your pet. If you outrange your pet, it will once again cause it to despawn and make you lose the Master Demonology buff. However, on the bright side, as we can see here, you can actually be very, very far away from your pet before it actually is forced to despawn. So this isn't really that much of a limiting factor. And actually, in Naxxramas, there's not that many bosses that are putting your pet in fear of dying. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Now I'm going to get back to finishing up that Naxxramas parsing video. So please subscribe so that you know exactly when the Naxxramas parsing video is coming out. And of course, drop a like on this video. I really, really appreciate it, guys. Also, down in the comment section down below, please let me know, did you try this spec? Was it a little bit tedious trying to get all your world buffs while managing your pet? Also, how much damage did your pet do? You finally can use the Black Book and have it be a good trinket. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching the video, and until next time, I'm out of here. Take care.